My mother worked 3 jobs while he posted vacation photos with his other kids. Now he wants forgiveness. Update at bottom. This is long. I'm sorry. I just need to get it all out. I'm a 32-year-old architect. I have my own small firm now, 15 employees, projects I'm genuinely proud of. Last month, one of my residential designs was featured in an architecture magazine. A modern home I built for a family in the hills, all glass and natural wood and sustainable materials. I posted about it on my professional page because that's what you do when you're trying to build a reputation in this industry. 3 days later, I received a Facebook message from someone I didn't recognize. The profile picture was of an older man standing on a beach, smiling, looking like anyone's grandfather. The message was simple. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I've been following your career for years now, and I'm so proud of what you've become. I know I have no right to say that. I know I have no right to anything. But I'm hoping, praying really, that it's not too late. I'd like to explain, if you'll let me. I'd like to apologize in person. I understand if you can't. But I had to try. Your father. I stared at that message for 45 minutes. Then I closed my laptop, walked to my balcony, and watched the city lights until 3 a.m., trying to figure out why my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The abandonment. I was 7 years old when my father left. I don't remember the actual morning, not clearly. Trauma does strange things to memory. It blurs some details while sharpening others into weapons that cut you for decades. What I remember is this: going to sleep in a house with 2 parents and waking up in one with only one. My mother tried to explain. She was crying, I remember that. She kept touching my face like she was making sure I was still there, still real. She said Daddy had to go away for a while. She said he loved me very much. She said he would call soon. He never called. No letter. No birthday card. No explanation addressed to a confused 7-year-old who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. Just absence. A void where a father should have been. For weeks, I would hear a car door close outside and run to the window, certain it was him. I would answer the phone with breathless hope, only to feel that hope curdle into something heavier each time it wasn't his voice. I used to leave my bedroom door open at night so I could hear if he came home late. Surely he would come check on me first thing. Surely he would sit on the edge of my bed and tell me he was sorry, tell me it was all a mistake. He never came. Eventually, I stopped running to the window. Stopped hoping the phone was for me. Started closing my bedroom door. My mother. God, my mother. She was 29 years old with a 7-year-old son and no money. My father hadn't just left emotionally, he'd left financially. Took what little they had and disappeared, leaving her with rent due and a child to feed. She got a job at a grocery store during the day. She cleaned offices at night. On weekends, she did alterations for a dry cleaner who paid her cash under the table. I remember sitting in the back of that dry cleaning shop, doing my homework surrounded by other people's clothes, the smell of chemicals becoming the scent of my childhood. She never complained. Not once. Not to me, anyway. She would come home at midnight, exhausted beyond description, and still ask about my day. Still check my homework. Still kiss my forehead and tell me she loved me before collapsing into a sleep so deep it scared me sometimes. I learned young that love wasn't about being present when it was convenient. Love was about staying when everything in you wanted to run. My father didn't love me. That was the conclusion I reached somewhere around age 10. The alternative, that he loved me but left anyway, was somehow worse, so I settled on the simpler explanation. He didn't love me. He was incapable of it. Something was broken in him, and that's why he left. I built my childhood around that belief. The aftermath. Anger is a strange fuel. It burns hot at first, chaotic and destructive, and you think it will consume you. But if you learn to control it, to direct it, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes propulsion. I was an angry teenager. I got into fights. I talked back to teachers. I broke things, walls, furniture, my own knuckles punching pillars when the rage had nowhere else to go. My mother weathered it all with patience I didn't deserve, never once telling me I was becoming like him, though I'm sure she thought it sometimes. At 16, something shifted. I don't know what triggered it. Maybe it was seeing my mother cry after a double shift, so tired she couldn't even make it to her bedroom. Maybe it was a teacher who saw something in me and refused to let me waste it. Maybe I just got tired of being angry. I decided I would become someone. Not for my father. I refused to give him that power, but in spite of him. Every A I earned was a rejection of his absence. Every scholarship, every opportunity, every door I pried open through sheer determination was proof that I didn't need him. That I never had. I got into a good university. Studied architecture because I loved the idea of building things that lasted, things that sheltered people, things that stayed standing. I graduated with honors. Got a job at a prestigious firm. Worked 80-hour weeks until they noticed me, promoted me, gave me my own projects. I started my own firm at 29. It was terrifying and exhilarating and everything I'd ever worked for. My mother came to my office opening and cried, happy tears, finally. She stood in the lobby with my name on the wall behind her and said, "You did it, baby. You really did it." I didn't think about my father during those years. Not consciously. But he was there, in every late night, every rejection I powered through, every moment I refused to quit. He was the ghost I was running from and the standard I was determined to exceed. I would be successful. I would be present. I would be everything he wasn't. And then he found me on Facebook. The investigation. I didn't respond to his message for 2 weeks. During that time, I did something I'd avoided for 25 years. I looked him up. It wasn't hard. He hadn't hidden himself. Why would he? He hadn't committed a crime, not a legal one, anyway. He had simply made a choice. And apparently, the life he'd chosen instead of us was very much public. He had another family. I found them through his Facebook profile, the same one he'd messaged me from. His cover photo was a family portrait. Him, a woman about 10 years younger than my mother would be, and 2 children. Adults now, of course. His other son looked to be around my age, maybe a year or 2 younger. His daughter was perhaps 25. He was a father. Just not to me. He had the capacity for it. He just chose to use it on someone else. I scrolled through years of photos with a detached horror of watching a car crash in slow motion. Birthday parties. Christmas mornings. Graduation ceremonies. High school, then college. His other son in a cap and gown, my father's arm around his shoulders, beaming with pride. His daughter's wedding, my father walking her down the aisle, tears on his cheeks. He walked her down the aisle. I had to close my laptop at that point. My hands were shaking again, that same tremor from the night I first saw his message. But this was different. This wasn't confusion or shock. This was fury so pure it felt like ice in my veins. He wasn't broken. There was nothing wrong with him that prevented him from being a father. He had been a father, a present, engaged, loving father, for over 2 decades. He just hadn't been one to me. My mother worked herself to exhaustion so I could have what he should have provided. And he was posting vacation photos with his other kids. Disney World. Beach trips. Ski vacations. I saw photos of birthday cakes with candles, of Christmas trees surrounded by gifts, of a man who was there for every moment that mattered. I thought about my mother sewing buttons at midnight to earn an extra $40 a week. I thought about the birthday where I turned 9 and she couldn't afford a cake, so she made pancakes and put candles in those instead. I thought about every school play she missed because she was working, and I never blamed her because I knew she had no choice. He had a choice. He could have sent money. He could have called. He could have done the bare minimum to acknowledge that I existed. But he chose not to. He chose to start fresh, to pretend his first life, our life, had never happened. And now he wanted to explain. My mother. I didn't tell her about the message at first. She had enough to deal with. The cancer came back 8 months ago. It had been in remission for 3 years, and we'd started to believe, stupidly, hopefully, that we were in the clear. But cancer doesn't care about hope. It came back aggressive and spread quickly, and now she was dying. She was dying, and I was scrolling through photos of my father's other life, and the universe seemed particularly cruel that week. I told her eventually. I had to. She noticed something was wrong. Even sick, even exhausted from treatment, she noticed when her son was struggling. That's the kind of mother she was. The kind of mother he left behind. He found you, she said when I finished explaining. She was lying in her hospital bed, smaller than I'd ever seen her, but her eyes were sharp. She'd never been one for self-pity. He wants to meet, I said. He wants to apologize. And what do you want? I didn't have an answer. She reached for my hand, her grip weaker than it used to be, her fingers thin and cold. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to hear it. Not for him. For you. Mom. Don't carry this anger into your future. Her voice was firm despite its frailty. I've watched you carry it your whole life. It's made you strong, but it's also made you hard in places you shouldn't be. You're 32 years old. You're successful. You're everything I prayed you'd become. But you're alone. And I think, she paused, gathering strength, I think part of that is because you've never let yourself trust anyone the way you trusted him before he left. I trust you. I'm your mother. That's different. She squeezed my hand. Meet him. Hear what he has to say. Not because he deserves it, he doesn't. But because you deserve to stop wondering. You deserve to look him in the eye and decide for yourself what kind of man he is. And then, whether you forgive him or not, you can move forward knowing you did it on your own terms. What if I don't want to forgive him? She smiled, and it was sad and wise and so full of love it made my chest ache. Then don't. But make that choice from a place of peace, not pain. Carrying anger is exhausting, baby. I know, I carried my own for a long time. I don't want that for you. Especially after I'm gone. She was dying. She was dying, and she was worried about me. I don't know if I can, I admitted. I know. She closed her eyes, tired from even this short conversation. But I think you should try. Update 1. The meeting. I agreed to 1 coffee. I chose the location, a quiet cafe near my office, somewhere public but not crowded. I wanted witnesses but not an audience. I arrived 15 minutes early because I needed to sit with my back to the wall, needed to see him coming, needed to feel some semblance of control in a situation that felt entirely out of my hands. He was late by 2 minutes. I know because I watched the clock, counting each second like a sentence. He looked old. That was my first thought. He was 63 now, and he looked it. Gray hair, lined face, a slight stoop to his shoulders that hadn't been there in the fragmented memories I still carried. He paused in the doorway, scanning the room, and when his eyes found me, I watched his expression crumble and reform into something I couldn't read. He walked toward me slowly, like he was approaching something fragile. Maybe he was. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," he said as he sat down. His voice was rougher than I remembered, eroded by decades of a life I knew nothing about. "I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't." He nodded, accepting that. "I understand." The waitress came. He ordered coffee, black. I already had mine. I'd been drinking it to give my hand something to do. When she left, silence stretched between us, filled with 25 years of nothing. "I don't know where to start," he said finally. "How about with why you left?" The words came out sharper than I intended, but I didn't apologize. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they were wet. "I was young. I was overwhelmed. I was selfish and scared, and I made terrible choices. Terrible, unforgivable choices. You made them for 25 years. He flinched like I'd struck him. "Yes. You could have called. You could have sent a letter. You could have sent money to help my mother, who was working 3 jobs to keep us afloat while you were—" I stopped, breathed. "While you were taking your other kids to Disney World." He cried in that coffee shop. Real tears. And I felt nothing. Is that strength or damage? I can't tell anymore. "There's nothing I can say that will make it better," he said, wiping his face with a napkin. "I know that. I'm not asking you to understand because there's nothing to understand. I failed you. I abandoned you. I was a coward and a terrible father and His voice broke. "I missed your entire life because I was too ashamed to face what I'd done." "You weren't too ashamed to be a father to them." "No." He looked down at his coffee, untouched. "I wasn't. I told myself that I would do it right the second time. That I would be the father I should have been. Like that somehow made up for what I did to you." He shook his head. "It didn't. It doesn't. I know that. I've always known that." "Then why didn't you come back?" "Because by the time I realized what I'd done, really realized, years had passed. And then more years. And I told myself you were better off without me. That reaching out would only hurt you more. That you'd moved on." He finally looked at me, and his eyes were red-rimmed and devastated. "But I saw your name in that magazine, and I saw what you've become, and I couldn't die without telling you how sorry I am." "Die." I noticed then what I hadn't before, the pallor of his skin, the way his clothes hung loose on his frame, the tremor in his hands that matched my own. "Are you sick?" "Parkinson's," he said quietly. "Early stages. I've got years left, probably." But it made me think about things I'd been avoiding. Of course he was dying too. Everyone was dying, and now this man who had been nothing to me for 25 years wanted to make peace before he went. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," he continued when I didn't respond. "I have no right to ask for that. I'm not asking to be part of your life. I needed you to know that not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about you. Not a day that I haven't regretted what I did. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I sat there, watching this stranger cry over a coffee neither of us was drinking, and I tried to feel something. Anything. But there was just emptiness. A hollow space where something should be. I need to think, I finally said, standing up. He looked up at me, desperate and resigned all at once. Of course. Take all the time you need. I left without looking back. Update 2. The aftermath of the meeting. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, analyzing every word, every expression, every tear. He had seemed genuine. The remorse had seemed real. But what did that change? What did an apology fix? My mother asked how it went. I told her the truth. I didn't know. Did he explain? She asked. He tried. He said he was young, overwhelmed, scared, that he made terrible choices and he knows it. And I don't know what to do with that. I sat on the edge of her hospital bed, feeling like a child again. He cried. He said he was sorry. He said he thinks about me every day. Do you believe him? I think I do. And that almost makes it worse. She reached for my hand again, her grip weaker than it had been even a week ago. Why? Because if he's a monster, I can hate him and be done with it. But if he's just a flawed, cowardly man who made terrible choices and genuinely regrets them. I trailed off. I don't know how to feel about that person. I don't know if I'm supposed to forgive him or not. Nobody can tell you what you're supposed to do, baby. Everyone seems to have opinions. It came out bitter. Forgive him, don't forgive him, meet him again, never see him again. Everyone acts like there's a right answer. There isn't. She smiled softly. There's just your answer. The one you can live with. I thought about that long after I left the hospital. Everyone says I should forgive him. They say it's for my peace, not his. But what if I don't want peace? What if I want him to live with what he did? Is that cruel? Is that fair? He's facing his own mortality now, and he came to me because he wanted to die with a clear conscience. Why should I give him that? Why should I absolve him of 25 years of absence just because he's sorry now? But then I think about my mother, dying in that hospital bed, asking me not to carry this anger into my future. And I don't know anymore. Update 3. What I've learned about myself. I built my entire identity on being the man he wasn't. What happens to me if I let him back in? Who am I without that anger? That question has been echoing in my head for days now. I've been seeing a therapist, something I started a few years ago, before any of this happened. I told her about my father's message, about the meeting, about my mother's request. She asked me what I was afraid of. Forgiving him, I said. Why does forgiveness scare you? I thought about it for a long time before answering. Because anger has been useful. It's been fuel. Everything I've accomplished, every obstacle I've overcome, I did it because I was determined to prove him wrong. To prove I didn't need him. To be everything he wasn't. And if you forgive him, then what was it all for? The words came out broken. If I can just let it go, then it means it didn't matter. All that pain, all those years of struggling, if I can forgive him, then maybe I was making a bigger deal out of it than it was. Is that what you believe? No. I shook my head. No, I know it was real. I know what he did was wrong. But forgiving him feels like saying it's okay. Like giving him permission to stop feeling guilty. Forgiveness isn't about the other person, she said gently. It's about releasing your own burden. You can acknowledge that what he did was wrong, that it hurt you deeply, that it shaped your entire life, and still choose to stop carrying it. I don't know if I can. That's okay. You don't have to decide today. But here's the thing, my mother is dying. She might not have many days left for me to figure this out. And I keep hearing her voice in my head, don't carry this anger into your future. What if I can't forgive him in time? What if she dies and I'm still stuck in this limbo, unable to move forward or backward? Update 4. His other children. I did something last week that I'm not sure was healthy. I reached out to his other son, my half-brother, I suppose. I found him through Facebook. He's 30, works in finance, lives about 2 hours from here. He looks like our father, the same jawline, the same build. Looking at him felt like looking at an alternate version of myself, one raised in a different reality. I sent him a message, I'm your half-brother. I think we should talk. He responded within an hour. He already knew about me. Our father had told his second family about his first one. Not in detail, but they knew he had a son from before. A son he'd left behind. We met at a bar, neutral territory. He was nervous. I could see it in the way he kept fiddling with his drink. But he was also curious. Maybe even sympathetic. He never talked about you much, my half-brother said. But he had a photo of you. When you were little. He kept it in his desk drawer. I didn't know how to feel about that. A photo hidden in a drawer. Was that guilt? Nostalgia? Just something he forgot to throw away? What was he like? I asked. As a father. My half-brother considered the question carefully. He was present. Always at my games, my school events. We went camping every summer. He taught me to drive, helped me with college applications. He paused, uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I know this is probably hard to hear. It is. For what it's worth, I didn't know. Not really. I knew he'd been married before, but I didn't understand what that meant until I was older. When I found out he had a son, he just left. He shook his head. I confronted him about it. He cried. I'd never seen him cry before. He cries a lot, apparently. My half-brother almost smiled, but it was sad. Yeah. Especially these days. Does he talk about me? More lately. Since he got diagnosed. He looked at me directly. I think he wants to make things right. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I think his regret is genuine. That's what everyone keeps telling me. And you don't believe them? I believe the regret is real. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. We talked for 2 hours. He's a good person, this half-brother of mine. He didn't try to defend our father. He didn't try to convince me to forgive him. He just listened, shared what he knew. Let me ask the questions I'd been too afraid to ask anyone else. Before we left, he said something that stuck with me. Whatever you decide about him, I hope you know you have a brother. If you want one. I still haven't responded to that. Update 5. Where I am now. My mother is dying. She wants me to forgive him before she goes. How do I tell her? I don't know if I can. I've visited my father twice more since that first coffee. Both times at his request, both times ending with me leaving more confused than when I arrived. He tells me stories about his life, not the second family, but before. His own childhood, his own father who was cold and distant. He's not making excuses, not exactly, but he's trying to help me understand how he became someone capable of what he did. I don't know if it helps or not. He asked about my life too. My work, my accomplishments. He asked about my mother, genuinely asking, not just being polite. When I told him she was dying, he broke down. Apologized again for what he put her through. Asked if there was anything he could do. There isn't, of course. There's nothing anyone can do. But here's where I'm stuck. I look at this man, this old, sick, genuinely remorseful man, and I can see that he's changed. He's not the same person who walked out on a 7-year-old without a word. 25 years of living with that guilt has worn him down, reshaped him into someone who seems to genuinely understand the magnitude of what he did. But he was also a father. Just not to me. He had the capacity for it. He just chose to use it on someone else. He didn't have to abandon me to build that second life. He chose to. Every day for 25 years, he chose not to reach out, not to call, not to send a single birthday card. Every Disney trip, every graduation, every bedtime story was a choice he made while knowing I existed somewhere without him. The apology seems real. The remorse seems genuine. But 25 years can't be undone with one conversation. Or 2. Or 20. So here's my question to you, Reddit. Do people really change? Is the man sitting across from me in that cafe the same man who walked out without saying goodbye? Or has he genuinely become someone different? Is forgiveness for him or for me? If I forgive him, am I releasing my own burden or just giving him permission to die in peace? And can you rebuild something that was never built in the first place? We don't have a relationship to repair. We have nothing at all. Would letting him into my life now be building something new, or just pretending the last 25 years didn't happen? I'm 32 years old. I've spent most of my life defined by his absence. I've become someone successful, someone capable, someone who doesn't need him. But I've also become someone hard. Someone who struggles to trust. Someone who keeps people at arm's length because the one person who should have stayed chose to leave. My mother wants me to find peace before she goes. My therapist wants me to release my burden. My half-brother wants me to know I have family, if I want it. And my father, this stranger who shares my blood, wants a chance to know me before it's too late. And I don't know what I want. I genuinely don't know. I stood in my apartment last night, looking at that magazine with my design on the cover, and I thought about what he said, that he's proud of me. Part of me wanted to throw it across the room. What right does he have to be proud? He didn't earn that. He wasn't there for any of it. But another part of me, a small, quiet part one tried to ignore, felt something I didn't expect. Not forgiveness, exactly. But maybe, an opening. A crack in the wall I've built. Is that weakness or growth? I still can't tell. My mother is dying. My father is dying. And I'm stuck between them, trying to figure out how to feel about a man I've hated for 25 years who turned out to be more complicated than the monster I made him. I don't have an ending to this story yet. I don't know if I'll forgive him. I don't know if I'll let him into my life. I don't know if I'll ever call him Dad, or if I'll walk away and never see him again. What I know is this: he made a choice to leave. Every day, he made a choice not to come back. And now I have to make my own choice, not about him, but about who I want to be. I just don't know what that choice is yet. TLDR, my father abandoned me when I was 7, started a new family, was a present father to his other kids for 25 years, and now wants back into my life. He seems genuinely remorseful. My mother is dying and wants me to forgive him. I don't know if I can, or if I even want to. Looking for perspective. Here's what I still don't know: whether forgiving him would be growth or surrender. He was a father. Just not to me. He had the capacity for it. He just chose to use it on someone else. That's the part one can't get past. If he'd been broken, incapable of love, incapable of presence, I could almost understand. But he walked his daughter down the aisle. He taught his other son to drive. He was at every game, every graduation, every birthday. He chose to be there for them. And he chose not to be there for me. My mother worked herself to exhaustion so I could have what he should have provided. And he was posting vacation photos with his other kids. Disney World. Beach trips. Ski vacations. While she was sewing buttons at midnight for $40 a week. He cried in that coffee shop. Real tears. And I felt nothing. Is that strength or damage? I can't tell anymore. Everyone says I should forgive him. They say it's for my peace, not his. But what if I don't want peace? What if I want him to live with what he did? My therapist says forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about releasing your own burden. But I built my entire identity on being the man he wasn't. What happens to me if I let him back in? Who am I without that anger? Anger has been fuel. Every A I earned, every scholarship, every door I pried open, I did it to prove I didn't need him. To be everything he wasn't. If I forgive him, what was it all for? My mother is dying. She wants me to forgive him before she goes. How do I tell her I don't know if I can? Don't carry this anger into your future, she said. She's worried about me even now, even dying. That's the kind of mother she was. The kind he left behind. He's dying too. Parkinson's. He came to me because he wanted to die with a clear conscience. Why should I give him that? Why should I absolve 25 years of absence just because he's sorry now? But then I met my half-brother. Good person. Didn't defend our father. Just listened. Before we left, he said, "Whatever you decide about him, I hope you know you have a brother. If you want one." I still haven't responded to that. The apology seems real. The remorse seems genuine. But 25 years can't be undone with one conversation. Or 2. Or 20. Do people really change? Is the man in that cafe the same man who walked out without saying goodbye? Or has he genuinely become someone different? Can you rebuild something that was never built in the first place? We don't have a relationship to repair. We have nothing at all. I'm 32. Successful. Someone who doesn't need him. But also someone hard. Someone who struggles to trust. Someone who keeps people at arm's length because the one person who should have stayed chose to leave. He made a choice to leave. Every day for 25 years, he made a choice not to come back. And now I have to make my own choice, not about him, but about who I want to be. I just don't know what that choice is yet.